All right. Hello, friends. Welcome to Music Nation Speaks with me, Joe, where I use this platform to chat and learn from people who are professionals and passionate in what they do from all walks of life. All right. And before we get into today's guest, a bit of housekeeping to do as per usual. Music Nation Speaks is powered and produced by Major Music. Major Music is a music school in Puchong, Selangor, as well as a retail store and live sound company for events. So if you're around that area or are interested in taking, online slash personal one-on-one music lessons, of course, following SOP, do check out Major Music for their one-on-one music lessons in guitar, bass, drums, vocals, and so on and so forth. Or if you have an event such as weddings or company events and you're in need of sound systems, please give Major Music a call. And if you need a space to perform, record, or do live streams such as this, of course, right today we're at my living room. So with the COVID thing, it's a little bit difficult to it's not wise to gather just yet. All right, so if you need a space to perform, record, or do live streams, let Major Music know. They are a great team of people, super passionate about what they do, and they give amazing service. All right, now on to our next bit. Music Nation is offering group vocal classes and group songwriting classes on ClassPass Malaysia, and we're the first music school in Malaysia to be on ClassPass. So yeah, we are offering group vocal classes and group songwriting classes on ClassPass Malaysia, as well as individual classes for singing, for vocals, guitar, piano, and songwriting. All right, so we are located at Kedai KL, Masa Avenue KL. I'll be teaching those classes and a few other teachers as well. So if you are interested in community learning with your friends or family members, or if you want to explore songwriting, check Music Nation out on ClassPass or on our social media. On Instagram, it's at Music Nation MY. All right. Or just walk in, come say hello, and we'll set you up with a free trial class. All right. So that's it for today's announcements. Housekeeping. Next up, we have two people that I've been wanting to reach out to for a very long time now, since last year. We have two amazing Malaysian voice actors, Stephen Bones and
Hello, hello.
Su Ling. Hello, friends.
Hello.
How are you guys doing
Hello.
on this fine evening?
I'm good. I'm
Good,
good. I'm
good,
good.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like when we was
Yeah.
sound checking slash mic checking, I commented on Steven on about his backdrop and the lights and the jacket, everything. It's
Yeah.
like our very own Malaysian PewDiePie.
Hopefully, like one day I'll have the millions and millions of followers also. Then like, yay.
And also the millions and millions of dough,
Yeah. And
that
move
he's
to London. Yay.
right. Okay. So let's get right into it. Okay, so because this is a three-way thing, I think we have to navigate it that way. So I'll let's start with Su Ling, all right, and then we'll go to Steven and things like that. So Su Ling, how did you get into voice acting?
Oh, I followed a friend to an audition, went for an audition, and got cast. I think this was in 2008, so it was quite a while back. That's for video games and animation. But for commercials, I work in advertising, so naturally I'm on the other side of the business. So I cast people like Stephen Bones all the time. I write the copy. I'm I'm the bridge between the client and them. So from that aspect, I was doing a lot of what we call guide VO, and then eventually I started booking a lot of my own actual VO jobs through that because the client would say, "Oh, that's quite a nice read." Whoever's doing the guide VO, so let's just hire her. And then I'm like, okay. So that's pretty much how I got started in the industry.
Oh wow! So it's a little bit like, I mean, to relate it back into, kind of like my own experience. It's like we record demos for singers, for actual artists to learn the song and then to record the song, and then um, and then uh uh the producer or whoever, like, you know, the demo person's voice, and then decide to hire that person instead, kind of like that.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of say it like that. I guess the better analogy would be
Yeah.
Sia. Oh my gosh, like I'm Sia. No, I'm kidding. But you know how
With the hair in
um,
front.
I mean, you know how Sia was for a very long time a songwriter first
Yes.
before she emerged as an artist. So it's kind of
Mm.
the same thing in the sense like I wrote a lot of ads and was producing a lot of commercials in the back end before becoming a talent myself. So I guess that would be a
Mm.
closer equivalent.
Understand. All right. Okay. And for Steven, what about you? Because your background is a little bit it took some turns to get to
Mm,
voice acting, right? Like we were talking about
yeah.
it just now. You actually are my senior from ICOM. So you were doing music
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Growing up, I was practically raised by the television set because like my parents were always busy. So I grew up watching a lot of TV and cartoons, and I always copied all the voices I would hear, even including the ads. So growing up, I had two dreams. One was to be a rock star. Two was to be a cartoon. So the rock
To
star
be a
seemed more.
cartoon.
Yeah, I didn't know how to be a cartoon. Like I didn't know what the career path was that. So the rock star thing seemed like the most feasible,
Yeah.
and that's how I ended up studying music and production and all this kind of stuff. And it was only after I started studying production, I was in college, and then we had like seniors who had relatives working in production studios and all that.
Yeah.
And one day, someone was like, "Hey, Steven, you sing for a lot of like the projects, and you do a lot of the dubs for the other seniors for the projects and stuff. So you do a lot of voice work, right? So, uh, can you rap in Chinese?" At that point, I've never rapped in Chinese, but I said yes because I can rap. I
Why
know
not?
Chinese. Why not? Go do it. Um, Went to the studio and found out it was for a commercial jingle. Recorded it, came out, saw this other guy go in later than me and leave earlier than me, and I was like, oh, what's that guy? What does he do? And I was like, okay. The studio people said, oh, he's a voiceover artist. I was like, oh, these things exist, and it never crossed
What's
my mind
that?
that these things. Yeah, what's that? Did a bit of digging, and I was like, oh, this is what it is. So suddenly I had found my entry into like, okay, like this this gets my voice onto TV, and it's one step closer to becoming a cartoon. Yeah. So that
A
road kind
real
of
life
opened up.
cartoon.
Yeah, and then I went to work for BFM, a radio station, when they first started as a production engineer. Got to meet a lot of the Malaysian voice actors and voice talents. And slowly, practice my craft there, and then like took the official step out to become a voiceover artist. Yeah, like full throttle.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm very curious now. Okay, because what you told me is, you wanted to be a cartoon,
yeah.
and so, uh, I because I have no knowledge and no I've never done voiceovers or like voice acting, that kind of thing. It's always been
Mhm.
singing for me lah. So I'm very curious, like, how do you approach voice acting, or is there a difference between voice acting and voice over?
Uh,
So, oh, sorry, Steven.
okay.
Any.
No, okay. On for voice acting and voiceover, like while the local term for the voiceover industry is voiceover artist, I do pride myself in calling myself a voice actor because
Right.
acting is a big part of what we do. And when I first got into the voiceover industry, I went for some basic acting classes. I went for an improv class, and that really helped like set me apart and gave me that actor's mentality of how to approach scripts and all this kind of stuff. Because it's like the difference between um a singer and a singer who's also a musician who
Yeah.
understands the depth of
Tailgaze.
thing, or yeah, or a singer that is also a lyricist, or a
Yeah.
singer who it's on a very different level compared to just like the bathroom singer, right? They're all singers, but the bathroom singer is just having fun. The singer is the one that's knows that has a way to interpret everything and deliver their performance like mind, body, soul all in one consistent
Yeah.
take, right?
It's a
Yeah.
more
So
holistic thing
mm,
rather than just.
yeah. So voiceover does feel like a voiceover artist does feel like a clinical way to call things. Oop, there you go. Su Ling's gone.
Oh, Su Ling's gone. It's okay. We'll
Yeah.
add her back
Right.
in when she.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for voiceover artists, a lot of people will associate them with like the commercials, will associate them with
Yeah.
corporate videos and all this kind of stuff. But suddenly when it's voice actors, people associate them with cartoons, games, and very character driven
Yeah.
work. Yeah, but to me, it kind of all while they do vary, they kind of all fall in the same zone as well because you're just acting, but in different uh, tones and in different shapes and characters and all this kind of stuff. Because that
Mm.
radio announcer is also a kind of character.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically, right? Yeah. So that's the way I look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. So it I mean it's in your profession already. The name, the word actor is already in your profession. And like I
yeah,
have seen, some behind the scenes of like how celebrities they uh when they're acting for animations and cartoons and things like that, they actually do have to physically act as well. Like their
oh yeah.
facial expressions change, and the oh,
Hello.
hello.
Oh,
Hi, I'm
welcome
back.
back.
I even have the camera on, so I figured I would use my laptop instead of my desktop. Never mind. It's a very
I
long,
can see.
complicated story. Um, but is
Thank
everything
you for
okay?
doing
Can
this.
you see and hear me? Okay,
This is
cool. Okay.
perfect.
So I guess it's not
Awesome.
so bad. The laptop camera okay. The headset camera also okay. Okay. Not the most pro of equipment, but it works.
It works.
It works. We're all like working from home kind of vibe now, except for Steven. Like he has the whole setup and
Yeah,
everything.
no, this is turning my home into the entire office. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is the HQ now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Su Ling, now that you're here, right? So is there a difference for you between like voice overs and voice acting? Because from what Steven was saying, uh voice, I mean, the clearer, like the definition, I guess, would be like voiceovers are mostly for commercials, for jingles and things
Mm.
like that, and then voice acting is for animation, cartoons, and movies also, right? Like
Yeah.
gaming,
Yeah.
movies, yeah, character driven stuff.
Gaming.
Yeah,
games. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how is that like for you? And I'm very curious because you are the person who is delivering the performance, but also at the same time writing what is being delivered, right? So it, kind of like a song, a singer singing their own song in a way, right? Ish.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
cannot English
Although
today.
no, no, except I don't really like to voice in the commercials that I work on. I think it's a little bit short sendiri in a way, unless client really requests for it. I don't normally try to voice the commercials that I am directly in work with. But yes, there is definitely a difference between, I guess, what we call voice acting and then what voice over. So I
Mm.
think if we go by the definition, voiceover would be things like commercials, narration, IVR, those kind of things. So
What's
normally when we
IVR?
cast, IVR is something
oh, okay.
something voice prompt. Yeah.
Yeah, so like when you call your credit card company and you're like, for English, press 1. For Bahasa
Untuk
Malaysia,
bahasa Malaysia,
Malaysia.
tekan
Yeah,
2.
it's
You
IVR.
guys are so good. I want to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
close my eyes and just like listen to your voices now.
Well, I mean, I have done IVR jobs. So if you call certain brands and companies, you hear, uh, for English, press 1. Untuk bahasa Malaysia, tekan 2. I'm sure you've heard it. You've definitely heard it. I just can't say
Yes.
which brand, but yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
so the what is it? The approach is slightly different. So in this case, you want to make sure your enunciation, your diction, your clarity, you're not really acting a character. You're not acting as like the IVR person is like, I'm not acting as the robot. or the computer or whatever, or for an announcer, I'm not acting as the announcer unless there is like it's a radio play type of commercial where there's like characters going on and then you really act. But those commercials are quite rare. Now it's only like with Icon Probiotic, you can get blah 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 blah. Like it's mostly that. So it's mostly
Yeah.
an announcer kind of role. And so you're not really acting as an announcer. You're just announcing the commercial. So
Mm,
that's why it's a voiceover. The way I like to approach it is
ah,
that it's like voice overlay. You overlay your voice over something.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
voice acting is different because, as the name implies, you're acting. So there's no difference between a voice actor and an on-screen actor because it's all forms of acting. And in this
Mm,
case, you're bringing to life the script that is in front of you in the form of a character, whether it's a
mm,
computer, whether it's a person, an animal, it's still a character.
yeah,
So for me, that's the biggest difference.
yeah,
Voiceover is voice overlay. You overlay a voice and you give your like e-learning, explain something or something, but you're not acting out a character. And then voice
right.
acting is the art of bringing a script to life in the perspective of a character.
Character. I see. And which one
Yeah.
would you guys prefer? Is there a preference when it comes to either voiceover or voice acting?
Well, a lot of my work is voice acting.
Ah,
Versus voiceover because I don't really voice other people's commercials because it's like conflict of interest. So I generally try not to voice commercials, but
mm,
that's really the bulk of the industry. So as Steven can
mm.
Yeah.
tell you, most of his
Yeah.
paycheck is paid for by people like
Yeah.
me.
Yes. Thank you, Su Ling. Thank you, advertising industry.
You're
But yeah,
welcome.
I genuinely enjoy. I have not really bumped into any form of voice work that I don't enjoy. I mean, yeah,
Mm,
some days you get like really like some clients are easier than others. But some projects are easier than others as well. But all in all, have I ever had a moment where I'm like I prefer one over the other? No, I legit love it through and through from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other. Yeah,
mm.
and I've done this thing before where I had to like voice. It was a semi pro bono thing because it was like half for charity and thing. I had to read bank contracts for the blind. All right, that's how much I love my job. All right. I spent hours and days in a booth reading bank contracts so that blind people could like listen as if
Hear it.
yeah, as if us like non-visually impaired people with perfect vision, like as if we
We'll
read
read
the full
back.
contract. Yeah. Imagine listening to it, right? So even then I enjoyed it. Like it was still like okay, there's like I learn and I grow with every job and yeah, I up to this day. Yeah, I still love every moment
Right,
of it. Yeah, all of it.
right.
Mhm.
So is there, okay, this is a question for both of you at the same time, but let's start
Mm.
with Stephen, right? So is there a particular work that you've um what has been one of the most challenging work that you've done so far in terms of voice acting? And then we'll go to Su Ling, okay?
Challenging, yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
challenge.
one was that contract for the blind thing. Just
How many
you,
hours did you have to?
I think it was like 3 or 4 over 3 or 4 days, like 6 hour sessions per day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. It was brutal. It was very and the font is exactly the same as the bank contracts. Yeah, like it is like like tiny. Right. I almost went like blind myself. Okay, doing that. Another one I had another job I did, which um it was challenging. But I because of the nature of the job, because it was a PSA, and it was for domestic abuse. So I had to play like the angry husband shouting and like abusing the wife. So I went into that session. I was like, okay, this is a heavy role, and I came out and I was like, my hands were like shaking because I went I went like way further than I thought I was capable of.
Right.
Which, you know, it's not a bad thing, but wow, to feel that intensity, like it was one of the scarier moments lah for me. Yeah.
And for you to realize that, shoot, I actually am might be capable, or not
Yeah.
capable, but like, like the extent of your limit is further than
Yeah.
you
Like this
thought
is
it
inside
was.
this is somewhere inside me. Like, you know, this kind
Right.
of like and yeah, so I was like that after that session I kept on shaking and I legit had to like take the rest of the day off and just like
To
calm myself. Yeah.
decompress.
Yeah, to decompress. And it
Right.
wasn't a long job. Yeah, I think it was done within all of an hour or something like that. But yeah, it set me off for like the whole day.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. So, okay, we'll come back to Steven. So, Su Ling, what about you?
Well, nothing as deep and emotional as that. Mine is more from a very technical perspective. So I just
Mm.
started my home studio, and it's a little bit of a fixer-upper here and there, and I try to soundproof it as much as I can. And I just had this job where I think the final total count is 3,000 over words. 3,000 over words, which is a lot. Ask Steven.
Mm.
It is quite a
Yeah,
lot.
it's quite a
3,000
lot of
over
words.
words for a video game is quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
was recording, and that's just for one character. And I had two characters in this video game, and the other character had 1,000 over words too. So altogether, it was about 4,000 over words. And I was recording it in my home studio. So 4,000 over words probably take you about 6 hours of just pure recording, and then
yes.
there's also some editing and stuff like that. So in between, as I'm recording, I hear truck lah, motorcycle kapcai lah, annoying pigeon lah. It's like it's fine if it's just for short bursts, which is usually what I was used to. But this was like an entire marathon. It probably wouldn't have taken me 6 hours in a
Right.
normal proper studio. I probably would have. And bear in mind, when we do video games, uh, a lot of directors like three options, so three takes, like what
Oh,
would
Yeah.
yeah. So essentially, even though the final product is 4,000 over words, you're essentially voicing 12,000 over words, which is why it took 6 hours for that just one character. And then I knocked out the other character in an hour. But it was still like, wow, it was a patient, very
Yeah, and
long.
all these birds and lorries and all that, they won't happen when you're having a bad take. They will happen right the moment you're having a good take. In the middle of a good take, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you're like, no.
Yeah, so I mean, having a home studio is a challenge, but I'm soundproofing my windows, so hopefully that would help a lot.
Lock things
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Oh man. And are you guys especially during this pandemic? We've been for the entertainment industry I know personally, like most of my friends who are doing live gigs and things like that, they've had to take a step back and then go into different avenues, F&B, things like that. I myself have turned to teaching a lot more. So, what about you guys though? I'm very curious because um, for both of you, it's reading and writing and acting in a studio. So has the pandemic affected your work in any way?
Su Ling, I'll go first. I think she's doing R&D. I think she's doing research. Okay.
Doing research with the glasses on already.
She
Oh,
froze.
I think lagging. It's okay.
Yeah.
Stephen, you want to
Okay.
go first?
Yeah, I can start first. I in a way I was kind of ready for it because prior to that I do have an audio
You
background.
see this coming.
Not no I but no, but the thing is that with voiceover work in general, um because of the equipment, the prices of equipment, and the availability and the information that's out there, it's not exactly hard to set up your little home studio right now to record voice, right? For music and certain things, you might need like a bigger scale of stuff. So over the years, I've already been like doing some projects at home. So my room is like actually treated and all this kind of stuff. It's not soundproof, but it's treated,
Yeah.
so I can get like clean recording. So,
Mm.
when the pandemic hit, I part of me wasn't too worried because I was like, okay, pandemic happens, lockdown. That just means we have to record at home, right? Which is not a problem. I already have everything I need to do it.
Yeah.
The problem was that the industry slowed down
Yeah.
because
Yeah, people like me.
cannot go shoot, cannot this, cannot
Yeah,
that, client budget all don't know what to
actually.
do. Yeah, so that kind of forced me to reevaluate my situation and figure something else out.
Mm.
Something beyond voiceovers. Yeah,
Yeah.
which ended up being like streaming. Yeah, because I had a previous plan with like comedy and doing corporate events and all that was going well, and then I did my first corporate event. Within like a couple of days, boom, shut down. And then
Everything
just
shut down.
yeah, that it happened like a couple of days right when lockdown was announced. Yeah,
Right, right,
so
right.
yeah, so immediately I was fortunate in a sense where like the bulk of my income didn't rely on that yet, because if it did, I would have ended up like a lot of live performers who went from doing very well to suddenly nothing,
Zero.
which
Yeah,
is very
yeah.
very scary. Yeah, and I have like a family to provide for and all that. So yeah,
Right, right,
yeah.
right.
But again, the job slowed down and everything, so still figuring out things and figuring out new avenues and all that. So that kind of kept me sane and busy at the same time.
I
Mm.
see. Okay, we're going to talk about your different avenues after
Hmm.
this because I'm very curious also. And what about you, Su Ling? Has
Just write more commercials. Just
right.
do more commercials. So I'm very fortunate. I am very different from Steven in the sense that I'm in the advertising industry. So when we entered into a lockdown, we just wrote more commercials. I mean, we started working from home. Everybody started using Google Hangouts or Microsoft Teams or Skype or Zoom. It was difficult, but I think out of all the other industries, I think the advertising industry, in terms of the ability to work from home, wasn't as badly affected as, let's say, something like retail or
Yeah,
F&B. That
Hmm.
one, hancho lah, die lah, that one.
yeah.
But as Stephen did point out, the industry dramatically slowed down. And bear in mind, like this happened right during the Ramadan Raya season. So
Hmm.
I think last year I had like a lot of clients just stopped doing Raya Ramadan commercials. Like they had campaigns that they were planning.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
retail client was going to have like a big campaign with us, cut. Another client, I think insurance, yeah, also cut. Like basically the a lot of our clients were cutting down their Ramadan and Raya campaigns. And then
Wow.
also because you cannot shoot a lot of the, like you have to think lah, like one of the campaigns that I was working on literally had to work with influencers. Like this campaign was with Alif Sata and his family, and they shot it with his we had to send like an iPhone over to them. And then we had to direct the shoot over Zoom, and he would hold the camera up, and then like things like that. So those are the limitations. Or number two, we had a pure animated commercial.
Right.
um so it was kind of good and bad in the same time, at the same time, because then there was quite a bit of voice work going on, because a lot of the big companies were using animation for once
Yeah.
in their entire like life. Like Petronas, for
Funny
example,
life.
had like the first animated festive film ever in the history of Petronas.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that. I think it was animated by a Korean studio, so it looked like a manga. I mean, an anime. If you ever
Anime.
saw
Yeah, yeah,
last
yeah.
year's Petronas Raya commercial, it looked like Malaysian anime, except with Malay voices. So in Malay language. So it was like literally a Malay anime. It was very, very, very cool. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So it was cool.
And however, the downside would be like, only big companies are able to afford those kind of what's it called,
Yeah,
capital or like
commercials.
investment
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
commercials.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct,
Then what
Yeah.
about the
correct.
small businesses? Then
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
But
I
on
so
understand.
okay.
Suling's side, the lockdown did have a little silver lining though, because Suling was able to work from home. So she was able to pursue a lot of like online voice acting auditions and all that as well. So
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah,
true.
I remember, yeah, because I remember having a conversation here, and she was so excited. She's like, yes, like, oh, I'm suddenly in this position where like, okay, I can still do my job and I can audition like for the rest of the day.
Oh, I
It's
hope my
insane.
boss is
Yeah.
not watching this. I'm kidding.
Oh no, no, no. She
I'm
only
kidding.
spent like the whole pandemic time. She was like only spent like 20 minutes to audition for like games, and I was like, oh, 20 minutes only. 20 minutes only. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Uh, I mean, yes. From the upside, I developed my own home studio, so I was
Mm.
able to pursue a lot more voice work. Let me
Mm.
think what else. I was able to pursue a lot of international voice work that normally I wouldn't even bother and things like that. It's very competitive. So I
Yeah.
think in terms of developing skills, definitely for sure. 2020 was a year of just learning how to voice
Yeah.
act, which then I realized that I don't know jack shit. Hmm, yeah,
Don't we all?
yeah.
Right.
And what was happening was that in the US, they also have the whole pandemic going on, right? So suddenly, all these workshops and classes and coaching, which was usually only in person, was suddenly made available on Zoom. So I
Virtual.
was,
Yes.
yeah, virtual. So I was able to take workshops and classes from people
Courses.
that like I had admired from afar and have never been able had the chance to even do it. Suddenly, I was like, "Wow, okay." So I took classes. I mean, they're not super famous, but in the voice world, like anime and video game voice world, they're quite famous. Like I've always wanted to take a class with Richard Horvitz. I also wanted to take a class with Crispin Freeman. I just finished a class with J. Michael Tatham, like all these people who I have grown up listening to their voices. Like Crispin Freeman is the English guy, is the English voice actor for who's Sasuke's brother from Naruto? Itachi. Itachi. He's also in Overwatch as which character? Hold on, I'm gonna Google it right now. He's in Overwatch. That's all you need to know. He's in Overwatch.
So
Is he
very
one of like
Winston.
prominent.
Winston.
oh,
He's
Winston the
Winston.
gorilla? Oh wow.
Yes, in Overwatch. So I've always wanted to take classes with these people, but Richard Horvitz, for example, is what is his? He's a great instructor. He's Invader Zim, I think.
Oh.
Is he? I don't know. I should know. I should know who he is. I mean, I should
You
know
guys
who
are throwing
stuff that
names that
he
I
is.
don't.
I mean, you probably won't know unless you're in the industry or you're like a
Yeah.
huge cartoon
Nerd.
nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean that's
yeah,
the whole thing about the voice industry. Like, people remember the voices. Nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
that is often the
exactly.
case. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so I have a quick question for both of you guys. So it's a part one. Part one is for Steven, and part two is for Su Ling, because I we have the perfect package here.
Hmm.
In terms of the both of you are the talent, but also at the same time, Su Ling, you are the person who is selecting the talent. Right.
Mm.
So for example, if what would you tell a person or I really cannot English today. I'm so sorry, guys. An upcoming talent who is interested in voice acting or voiceover. What is the for Steven? What is the preparation or audition like? And then for Suling, what are you looking for in uh, during the audition tape or the tapes that you're listening to?
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. From my end, if we're talking about like animation and games and character work, voice acting stuff,
Yeah, character
when it
work.
yeah, when it comes to the audition, there are a few key things you need to be able to drive across. All right, because sometimes the characters just they just might not be the ones for you. They just might not be your characters. All right. But you go in there. Um, what character you're given, you sometimes don't have a choice. You don't have control over, or what character you are assigned if you're assigned one at the end. But what you do have control over is your ability to act and your
Mm.
versatility in terms of your character work and your voice tones and all this kind of stuff. So being able to showcase that you're able to take direction, that you're able to interpret a script well, that you're flexible, that you have range as an actor, like that is very key because that's like basic competency stuff, right? If you
Mm,
Yeah.
if you don't cross those hurdles, it doesn't matter if you have the perfect SpongeBob SquarePants impression. If you cannot cross those hurdles, it's very hard. It's very hard because um I think Su Ling can attest to this, especially if you're going for like international work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very, very competent and very, very good actors out there
Mm.
who
Mm.
are eyeing that very same role as you. So a lot of times it does fall to just having the right voice and attitude for it and the right interpretation of the character. But without the basic acting foundation and being able to hit all those basic notes, you're yeah, it's going to be an
Yeah.
issue. So you need to have those addressed first.
okay.
Yeah,
All right. So
there's a
part
thousand things
two.
you can't control in an audition. So you try to
Yeah.
establish what you can control and you work from there. Yeah.
Right, right. So develop your own skill, know what kind of actor you are first in the beginning,
Hmm.
is it? Yeah,
Just
and
Yeah.
yeah,
be able
just
to
yeah, be a good actor. I know it sounds
Yeah.
like stupid, but just be a good actor. Just try to get that first. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
I think, hold on, before we get further into the discussion, I think we need to make a clear distinction between,
Hmm.
is this an in-person audition or is this an online submission? Because there's two key different skills. What Steven has been talking about is mostly for in-person auditions.
Hmm.
So basically means that you go to a studio, or I guess sometimes you audition via Zoom. Yeah, that happened to us a couple of
Yeah.
times, isn't it, Steven, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has.
There were
Yeah.
a couple of in-person auditions through Zoom, or you go to the studio and you go for an audition. So the way you approach that is very, very different from how you would approach what we call a submission audition, where you record yourself saying the lines and then you submit that. Is very, very, very different. So we'll talk about more about the in-person audition first, because Steven has already brought the skills that you need for it. So like he mentioned, you need to have acting skills, you need to be flexible. For more technical acting terms, you need to develop your improvisation skills, your improv skills, like super, and I'll give examples why. And then you also need to improve your co-reading skills. So what is improv and co-reading? So improv is basically your ability to improvise and be flexible with a script. And it's not just from improvising the script, like making up the script, or creating new words and things like that, but it's about how do you interpret the script in a different manner, like, improvise, as the name suggests. So in one audition, the director said, "I already like what you've given me. Can you give me something else?" That is where you show your improv skills.
Versatility.
Yeah, and your versatility and things like that, and then you show another side to that character, or you give another voice. That's one. Number two, co-reading. So what is co-reading? It's basically when you read a script for the first time. So as crazy as it sounds, most of the in-person auditions will never send you the script ahead of time, or it is very rarely. They will ask you to sign an NDA, or they will ask you to read the script when you are there, and you're not allowed to take the script back home. In fact, I had a producer call me after I was done with an audition, asking me, "Oh, Sulay, we can't find your script. Did you accidentally take it home?" And I was like, "No, no, 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 I didn't." And it's like, okay, we don't know where your script went." And then she was like, "Okay, bye." And then eventually they found it. I think someone cleared it. The kakak cleared it and put it like somewhere, and they couldn't find it, and they thought I took it home. But that's how serious NDAs and privacy is. You're usually not allowed to take any of the scripts home that you see in audition. They will hardly ever send you the audition ahead of time. So usually when you go for an audition, you sit down, you sign whatever NDA they ask you to sign, or some registration or whatever, and then you literally have anywhere between 5 minutes to an hour before you say the lines.
Wow.
So that's when your co-reading skills need to be very sharp. So co-reading
Mm.
skills basically is an acting term when you have the script, when you read the script cold for the very first time, or second time or
Cold.
third time. Yeah, that's why it's called cold reading.
COLD.
Yeah, cold. Yeah, because
Ah.
not warm. Because you haven't gone through it like 100 over a million times to make it warm. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was. I thought you said co-reading
No,
like
no,
with
no,
a
not cold,
partner.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
No,
my bad.
cold. Yeah.
I see.
So, for example, I was in the booth and I was brought in to audition for two characters. And I literally had 10 minutes to go through the script. The producer explained to me who the characters are, gave me the thing, and I recreated some voices in my head. And then in 5 minutes, I was in the booth. And then the director, after we were done with these two characters, the director's like, "Hey, I want to give you something else." And then the engineer gives me a new script and says, "Okay, I give you 1 minute. You go figure this out, and then you just audition." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What the hell?" Okay, fine.
Does this happen often?
Do. Yeah.
This
Ask you.
is like default setting. This is like
It's
default setting
default.
for how it works.
In
Yeah.
person only. Okay, in person.
Yeah. In
And
person.
then
In person.
this
Yeah.
one is even more power. So I had the script sent to me. I had to sign a 10-page NDA, and then they sent me the script. And then I was like, okay, so I had some time to prepare for this. And then I go in and I was like, oh, and this was there was some people from other places like offices, because SOP lah, not everybody can be in the audition at the same time,
Same.
right?
Yeah.
So some people were on Zoom and things like that. So one of the people on Zoom, I think it was someone lah, okay, someone important, okay. They were like saying, "Oh, we would like her to read more. I'm going to send you this piece of copy, in Zoom. Can you read it?" So I'm in here in the booth with there's a monitor in front of me and a camera to show the Zoom people what I look like, and then they literally flashed the script on the monitor, not even printed out, because it was the other person that was auditioning, that was observing the audition via Zoom, who puts two like a paragraph of words, and they're like, "Okay, can you perform this?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure. Engineer, can you blow it up, because it's too small for me to read." And I'm like, "Okay." And I said, "Okay, give me 30 seconds." "Okay, yeah, I'm done." Then I just performed it.
Oh
So
my goodness! They just held the screen out and just like.
I mean, there's already a screen in there. There's usually a
Oh,
monitor
right, right.
in a
Yeah.
booth. Most booths have monitors because you need it for ADR, which is dubbing.
Right.
But because the person, that one of the decision makers was calling in via Zoom, like, let's call him client lah, okay? The client was calling in via Zoom, and they wanted me to read additional stuff. They sent it via Zoom chat.
Wow.
So I'm sure Steven can tell you more instances lah. What are
Yeah.
your like
There's lots of
surprise
stuff.
co-reading? Co-read, nah, here, take it. Auditions that you have.
Yeah, it's always there because for example, there was this one animation project I went in on, called Rimba Racer at the time, and I went in, like I was outside in the waiting area, right? So they'll hand you like, okay, here's the characters you can read for, and like just take a pick lah, take a pick and see whoever you want to do. Here's a text script. Here's a rough description of the character, what their personality is like, and what they look like, and that's it. So I went through it. Okay, like 10 minutes. Okay, go through, and I just ignored the main characters. I ignored the main character because I was like, okay, they probably have someone already. I never get casted for the main character at that point. I was like, okay, yeah, just ignore it. Just focus on all these side characters that I think I'll have a bit more fun with.
Right.
I went in there. The first thing they tell me, okay, Steven, we've already found most of the other characters. We're kind of just looking for the main guy now. And I was like,
The one thing that you didn't
The
That
one
you
thing-
didn't.
10 minutes that you had.
yeah,
How
Yeah.
disappointing.
yeah. But then like, but then I did the read
That's
for
on
it. I
you.
did that was me. I did the read for it, and then they were actually very happy about it. And then they were like, okay, I think that like you definitely are the guy for the lead. I was like, okay, like
Damn. So that's
Yeah,
like
but-
extra cold reading lah.
yeah, which is why like I mentioned earlier, like having the basics ready to go like your fundamentals, like your basics in acting and all this kind of stuff, like basic script interpretation. Your, it's like auditioning for like a band.
Yeah.
You can be a great soloist and all that, but if you can't be the functional player that holds down the chords or holds down the basic rhythm and chuck through the song, it's very hard to get a role, right? But if you're able to maintain the basics and then add flair to it, then suddenly you rise above the rest.
Right.
Yeah. So if in a music context, I'll put it that way. So I got quite lucky for that one. But it's a regular occurrence. It's a regular occurrence where you go in, to audition for one thing, suddenly they throw another 3 characters at you, say, hey, since you're here, try these out. Or somehow like, oh guys, we forgot to mention there's another audition going on. Do you want to like pop in and do a couple of trials there? So it's like, yeah. So you always have to be like ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's usually like pop, 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 and do they prepare? I mean, like Su Ling said, like they don't send you. Usually, they don't send you scripts in advance. You cannot practice beforehand.
Nope.
So it's kind of like a music sight reading, lah. Like you just
Yes,
go
it is like
in.
sight reading.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
very, very good way to put it.
We're sight reading voice
yes.
actors. We read English.
Yes, correct.
I see.
But I think with the whole global situation now, since last year, the online audition format has become like a very big norm. So for that one, I think Su Ling will be the person to ask for this, because she's been nailing stuff left, right, center.
I'm
crazy.
still like trying to figure it out. So online, what we call submission auditions, where you submit. Oh, those are really tough because a million other
Su Ling's always good at submissions, guys. Su Ling is so good at submissions. Get it. Hey.
From Jiujitsu to auditions, I really
submit everything.
Oh my god.
Okay, sorry.
Those kind of auditions are tough because you're fighting essentially everyone in the whole world. You're fighting people from Australia, you're fighting people from America, Europe, like things like that. So it's really intense. It's really crazy. Wow. I could get into a whole session just talking about how to do well, but I guess if you had to fall back, it's just good acting. Good acting really stands out, and then interpreting the script in a way that makes sense, but is surprising, is also very difficult, because there'll be 10,000 yous probably saying this because everybody's saying the same thing, probably saying it the same way, and therefore you get lost. So I think that if you said it the same way and you have a very generic sounding kind of voice, then the casting director, who has like 300 auditions, for example, for that one character, has 300 people tapes to listen to, will probably just skip yours. So you could be on point with your acting, you could be super on point, your voice could be the right voice, but it just sounds like 10 other people, and it was said the same way, which isn't wrong. The way you said it was correct, but it was said like the same way by 10 other people as well, that you probably will not. Skip.
And here's how and here's how competitive some of these online auditions can get. Okay, a job that some of these jobs pay, some pay like proper, like professional amount, some don't. Some pay a scaled down amount, some don't pay at all. Even, and this happens to all levels, of these kind of auditions. Where like, okay,
free also.
Say free also got. Some people the people running the project, right, will say, okay, we're opening up auditions for these 2 characters. Today is Monday, we'll open it out until like Sunday night, right? They put that out there, and by Wednesday, you'll see another post from them saying that, sorry guys, we got an overwhelming amount of submissions, we're closing the auditions. And then by the so maybe you find out on Wednesday or Thursday, and you're like, cannot, done, habis.
No, right.
Yeah, this is how crazy competitive it can get. You have to be so quick. You have to be so quick and on the ball. And these things, they pop up. I've seen some of these like people post it up, and within 24 hours, they shut the post down because There's
Yeah,
hundreds
too
of people
many.
just send in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right. So it is actually a very competitive and very uh, well, not demanding lah. So it's a very competitive field actually. That
Yeah.
not I feel like however, it's only within the scene. Like for people outside of it, we don't really know about, like maybe when our auditions are being posted up, who are having these auditions, and where to look for auditions, and things like that. So I think I'm a bit mindful of your time, and I want you guys to, you know, we so we can wrap this up as well. Like, let's talk a little bit about for aspiring voice actors, where can they find, or which avenue to reach out to, and also let's talk a little bit about No Straight Roads. I'm very curious about that project as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Usually you find them on Twitter. Voice Acting Club is a very good place. There's another site called CCC, Casting Call Club, where a lot of people post auditions there and then you submit. Discord, some channels like VAC, International Voice Artists, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, there's a couple, but mostly CCC and VAC are the places that you find most of the auditions on.
I see. Okay. Yeah. And let's dive into a little bit about No Straight Roads. All right. So
Mm.
for Steven, your character is Zook.
Zook. Yeah.
Am I Zook,
Yes.
right? Yeah, I'm saying this right. How is it like, and how tell me a little bit about your experience uh, uh, voice acting for this character and working on this project.
It was different because a lot of times, like, this kind of stuff, you expect to go in and you expect to go with that over the top acting, right?
Yeah.
Like, hi, my name is Zook and I'm the drummer, like something like that, right? But no, they wanted it like so grounded, so down to earth, and I totally loved it because it's such a different vibe, and it's so real. Like, so like in game it will be like, hi, my name is Zook and I'm the drummer. Like, so it's so chill,
But that's
and
usually how dramas are.
yeah, but like the fact that the medium is a game, you expect
Yeah.
everything needs to sound big and all, but no, they kind of went the other way at times.
Mm.
And also the fact that it was a Malaysian game, it just blew my mind to like no end, because like in terms of like the voice career, I've done the commercials, I've done the car commercials, I've done the movie trailers, I've done the cartoons and everything, movies and all.
Yeah.
Games was like the last thing. And having my voice show up on a PS4, like I was like, what? Like, cannot. Like, I never thought that it could be done. Right. So it was a crazy experience to do. And also it was really strange because like they were like, oh, when they casted me and Su Ling, they told me, okay, Steven, you're one of the main characters. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, okay, main character, a lot of lines, right? Can say a lot. Su Ling can corroborate this. The running joke for all the recording sessions was that how Zook was the main character, but he didn't say much.
Yes. The bad guy of the week said more than Zook most of the time.
There were
Oh, no.
there were times that when there's like 5 pages of script going on in one row, going on like at one time, right? And literally my part would be like, yeah, good job, man.
Yeah.
And that's it's hilarious. I think there was only one or two sessions where my part was a little bit heavier than Su Ling's. Otherwise, it was always like, yeah,
Just
it was always like, I was just there.
chill.
I was just there. Yeah, just chill.
Just breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
just existing. Yeah, but still though,
I see.
because okay, after being in this line for the amount of time I've been in and working on amount of projects, I learned to manage my expectations, right? So, I did whatever I did my part, and I was like, okay, this, like, because when you first start out, you're like, oh, I voiced for a cartoon. It's gonna be the biggest cartoon ever. It's gonna take over the world. I'm so excited. And that's not the case. There's so many things that can happen along the way. There's so many moving parts, right? So I learned to manage my expectations. So when the game came out, I picked it up and I fired it up. I was like, oh, okay, the game looks good. It plays good. And dang, like, everybody sounds good. I was like, oh my God, this is so well put together. And it came at a perfect time. It blew me away. Yeah. So I'm very happy how the game turned out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so cool. Like I think my friends were the ones who told me that, oh, Joe, this is a Malaysian game. It's gonna be on PS4, and we have like Malaysian voice actors on it. Da 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 da. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And then when
Yeah.
I researched it, I was like, I know Stephen Bones. He sings.
Yeah.
That's how I know.
And it's not a game about Pontianak or some durian or something like that. It's, wow. So cool.
Yeah. So like, how was your experience on No Straight Roads, and give us a little bit about your character, a background for your character, and what was your experience like working on this?
It was cool. I really like working on No Straight Roads. I think it was very different because normally when we do recording for animation, or even dubbing and things like that, we never see the other actors. So it's usually just us and the engineer and the director, and that's it. But for No Straight Roads, I think the producers wanted and the directors wanted to do something different. They wanted the actors to be recording at the same time. So we would read the script together as if acting it out together, which is very different from a
Yeah.
lot of other projects. You hardly ever get to see, like, Steven and I have been in so many shows together, and half the time
Yeah.
we don't even know that we're on the show together. That's one. Or number two,
Yeah.
unless the only time, and this happened on, was it Monday? Did I see you Monday or Tuesday? Monday,
Yeah, I think
right?
Monday. Yeah.
Monday, yeah. See, okay, you see, we were on this show, and I didn't even know he was on this show until I saw him in the studio, and I was done with my session, and then Steven comes in, and I'm like, "Hey, bro!"
Yeah.
Yeah, the only
It's
other,
very
yeah,
strange. Yeah.
it was very funny. But then eventually you learn to recognize people's voices. And like, there was another show I was recording, and Steven's voice was already inside, and because I was the last actor to put my lines in, and I was like, and he ended up being my brother on the show. And then eventually after that, I called him and I said, "Hey, bro, you're my brother." Or was it the other way around? Oh, it was the other way around. I recorded
The other way
first, and
around.
then you
Yeah.
you called me and you told me, "Hey, you're my sis."
Yeah,
On the
it's
same
happened so many
project.
times. On the same project. Either we
On the
don't
same
see each
project.
other at all,
You
or
don't you
like,
don't know.
yeah,
You
we
don't
don't
know
know.
until the project comes out, and then you're like, "Hey, you're in this. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
also in this too."
Then
So you gotta remember, sometimes
yeah.
when we record, right? Even if they have the others actors' lines right before ours, sometimes we have no, like, overlapping lines with the other actors. So we might not have a clue who is in the project
Who's
as
that?
well. Yeah, who is that? We don't
Right.
Yeah,
know.
don't know,
We don't
don't
know at
know.
times. Yeah.
Tak tahu.
Yeah. Tak tahu.
So
Then would you guys prefer to act together or to do it separately now that you guys have done both?
acting together, it's
Yeah,
definitely
together is different.
way cooler because you can
Yeah.
improv so much more. It's very difficult to improv when you don't know how the other line's being performed. So then it really is onus on the good director. That's why you really need, for animation, a good director is a must, because they have heard everything, they're in all the sessions, so they know how to piece everything together.
Everything.
Whilst in this case, when you have all the actors together, lots of improv stuff comes out, lots of funny things come out.
Yeah.
And
So it makes
I
it very
like,
lively.
yes, I don't remember because I have terrible memory. Steven can attest that I have really terrible memory.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I ate yesterday. No, wait, I do, but never mind. So so uh
Forgot
see,
what she
I
was
don't
gonna
even
say.
remember what I was gonna say. You see, I have terrible memory. So okay, wait. Now I remember what I wanted to say. So when you can improv with other people, you No Straight Roads gave us the freedom to change the line or to ad lib and
Mm,
add new lines. We just had to make a note of it. So that was like, there were lines that we ad lib. I just don't remember which of the lines that we ad lib,
Yeah.
but I do
And
remember there were definitely lines.
Yeah, and also it was one of the first times I encountered this situation where, like, because going in, I asked the dev team, it's like, are we going with neutral accents? Because that's been the default setting for, like, the local animations, the cartoons, everything. Because
Yeah.
although it's made
Neutral
here,
accents. I like.
we want it to sound international, aka American Standard Neutral Accent, a British accent,
Ah.
right? Um, to which they said no. Actually, we want some local flair to it.
Oh.
So my character became the middle ground for the players, because
Yeah.
there was a bit of concern where people overseas would get
Like,
not put off, but be thrown off by the Malaysian accent at times. So they needed a character who can sort of like ground things, provide a bit of,
right.
like, okay, a familiar footing, so to speak.
Right.
Um, but I got to speak Malay in the game, which is nuts. And then, like, Su Ling got to throw in, like, go full Malaysian at times, and it was just wonderful. And I was like,
Yeah, it was
and the whole
awesome.
time, I was so nervous about it. I was like, can people want
Anna.
they yeah. And then it turned out people were so receptive to it. There was so much positive feedback on it, because a lot of people overseas, they was like, oh, I know what this
This
sounds like.
is
I
yes.
know I roughly can figure out which part of the world this is from. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, finally. There's, like, it's such a big bump in representation. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really cool when you have Americans dubbing over your scenes,
Oh
learning a
yeah.
Malaysian accent. So like I've had like people. No, and she was actually really good. Was it? Yeah, they tagged me on the post, and then they said me and my friends did this. My friend is a great voice actress. She tried to copy your
Your
voice and
Malaysian.
your accent. She's not Malaysian. She's American. And I
Yeah.
would listen to it and I was like, oh my gosh. I think I put it into our little group chat and I was like, look at this.
Yeah.
Somebody imitating the Malaysian accent. And then there's another voice actor, and they did like Steven, myself, and another character called Sayu, and they did all the voices in that clip, and they matched everything. Like they matched all the
The
accents,
tea.
and I was super impressed. I was like, wow, these are like Mat Saleh people trying to learn how to do Malaysian accent, and it
Right.
Oh,
was
excellent.
yeah, and I wonder, hey, can you teach all the expats here how to do that? Because all the expats here, right, really need to learn how to do Malaysian
Yeah.
accent way. When we go over, be
We have
immigrant,
to.
but then suddenly we speak American accent. When expat come here, right, they're like, oh, I don't like it. And it's like, oh, this work is not good. Can you
Mm.
please do this in this meeting or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Suling had a line in there, was like, it's like, oh, so you think this is damn cool, lah? Like like La was in it, and
Yeah,
I was like, it was so
yeah.
beautiful here and there, yeah.
Yeah, and I have like Americans trying to imitate that, and it's wonderful. It's awesome. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
But, like,
And actually, yeah, that's really cool.
yeah, but to bring it back to, like, Suling's thing about the submission of the auditions, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just an example of how, like, this game, it could have gone down the road of not using voice actors. They could have gone down the road of using American voice actors. But the
True.
fact that they chose to stick with the Malaysian identity, that was one thing that made it, like, stand out
Yeah.
from a
Yeah,
sea of video games. And it
Yeah.
helped elevate all of us, as the cast members and everyone on the team.
Yeah.
It helped elevate all of us as well, because you know it gave us something to be so proud of.
Yeah.
Not that we shouldn't have been proud of from day one, but it gave us something to be, like, super proud of, and that people would recognize and acknowledge and be like, "Hey, this is awesome," And
Yeah.
it's a crazy feeling, and it's nice to be able to stand out in this kind of way.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel that this is just this is my personal opinion, like your voice, for normal actors, like for on-screen actors, like once if your appearance, when you start change, your appearance change, and then or you get a little older, things like that, your characters that are given to you also change, right? But for voice actors, it's you sound like that for a very long time, and even if our voice do change, like very incremental, and so in a way, I do feel like a little bit. I do feel a little envious, and also a lot of what's it called uh, respect, and it's so cool to for to see you guys continue working on this and trying out different characters until, like, for a very long time to come, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's in some ways your voice are immortalized in these characters and in these animations and jobs as well. So what is the before I let you guys go, what is the one thing that you would leave for people who want to try, who's coming into this voice acting world,
Ooh. Yeah.
especially for Malaysian voice actors?
Okay. So I think Su Ling's gonna know what I'm gonna say already. So Su Ling, you wanna start first?
No, no,
My three
say it
golden
first so
tips.
that yeah,
Okay.
act.
I
Okay, I
I
won't
have
steal it from you. Okay, go.
I have 3 golden tips for anybody who wants to get into the voiceover industry, especially in Malaysia.
Three
All
golden
right.
tips.
3 golden tips. I live by them to this day. Some a bit more than others at times, but but it's just three. Three things that you. That's all you need to succeed. One, show up on time. Okay. One, show up for the session on time. Two, don't be a jerk. Be nice. Have a good attitude. Right. Three, don't suck. Right. And okay. And by that I mean, I'm not saying you have to be good or great or fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. Okay. But you cannot afford to suck.
Mm,
Like, you can afford to be new and like um be trying to find your footing and not great or still working on it, but you cannot suck. If you suck consistently, it will become a problem. That means you're not prepared. You haven't been practicing, you haven't readied yourself to take on the industry,
yeah.
because this is an industry of like first impressions. And
Mm.
um perhaps in the online sphere, in the global sphere, you can keep taking multiple chances and keep going forward without anyone knowing who you are. But in the local industry context, things move around very fast. Word gets around very, very fast. So every step you take, you want to make sure that it's a step up from what you did
Before.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 golden rules: show up on time, don't be a jerk, and don't suck.
Yes, Cikgu. What about you, Su Ling?
Okay, not to repeat whatever Steven has said. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I think one of the biggest advice I give anyone wanting to come into this industry is that, one, you really need to love this, because rejection is really, 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 really high. For
Yeah.
example, my booking ratio is probably sitting at, I guess, a 1% ratio. So that means for every 10 auditions I send, I only book one.
No, that's 10%.
Oh, that's
One
10%.
percent
Oh, okay, then that's one.
uh,
One, that's probably
okay.
less. Sorry, every 100, or see, I
Every
can't math
100,
either.
yeah.
Every
Every
100
100
auditions you send. Okay, then it's not that bad. I guess every 100 audition I send, I do book maybe about 7. So maybe that's a
Mm,
7%. So, okay. Yeah. So, but that's still crazy. You're sending
yeah.
100 over auditions and you only book 7. Like,
Mm,
what is going on?
yeah.
But yeah, there's a very, very high rejection rate.
Yeah.
Especially
and
if you are
and
trying to pursue international voice work.
and it's
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
that
yeah.
7% is all like lead characters and main roles and everything. Sometimes it's like one liners or like just by the side, by the way kind of things.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a mixed bag. Yeah. So it,
yeah.
it is a crazy, crazy industry to be in.
It is
Right.
Yeah.
a very crazy industry to be in, and then even our local scene, although it's not as competitive as the international scene, it is very difficult to get in because,
Mm,
like, okay lah, partly also my industry lah. Okay, my industry people like to choose the same voices over and over again because of what Steven said. A, they don't suck, and B, they're professional. So
right.
sometimes they don't like to take a chance on new people, for
Yeah.
example. So it is very difficult to break in like a lot of people keep asking me, how do I get in? And I said, I don't know how to tell that to you because I don't make any choices. The client at the end of the day chooses the talents. And sometimes they just choose people because, oh, I heard this person on radio before. Okay, I'm going to choose them.
Right.
It's those kind of things. Oh, I've worked with this talent before. I want to rehire them.
Yeah.
It's things like that. So the
Based
rejection
on
rate is,
comfort and familiarity and things
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, and the rejection rate in this industry is very, very high. That's one. Or the way to get into this, the what do you call it? Your big break in this industry is also very, it's like almost down to luck sometimes. So you got to
Mm.
have a really thick skin. That's the biggest advice. You got to love it because
And you have to got
you have
thick
to have a
skin.
really thick skin in order to survive in this industry. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. Those are my two pieces of advice.
Yes, Diego. All right. Thank you both so much. Before I let you guys go, is there anything that you guys want to add on that didn't touch on in terms of voice acting? Because I feel like this is just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that I want to core it from you guys, and hopefully by the time when I can invite you guys back on, it'll be in person in the studio when the pandemic is over and everything's back to normal again. So, is there anything that you guys would like to add on before we call it a night?
No, no.
No? Okay lah, huh? All right. So thank you both so much for taking time out and doing this thing for with me. I hope that for those of you guys who are watching, you guys learn a thing or two, and feel free to go get the game No Straight Roads, and also check out other things that Su Ling and Steven have been doing. These are our local talent, and I think it's very important that we support each other now, especially our local talents, so that there's more to go around when this thing is all over. So, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Suling, and have a great night, guys. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you.